got them hits, boy.
I just want the cash right now. Ay, I just want the bag right now. I just want your mom right now. Ay, I just want your mom right now. Yeah. Tell my young niggas focus. We will never be hopeless. We finna blow like explosives. I know it. I just want the bag right now.
Same old shit.
Same old shit.
Different toilet.
Different toilet, man. Yeah. Kobe Covington got flushed down that toilet, boy.
I ain't tripping.
He got, nah, it was a good fight, though, bro. It was definitely a good fight.
I think Kamaru Usman's on steroids.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think he is.
I think there's a lot of fighters in the UFC that are on steroid cycles that do it the right way, take the right breaks at the right times. To they'll go like off the roster, maybe not off the roster,
I'll listen to you because I'm just getting into fighting.
I mean, we're all just sitting here talking shit. I don't 100% know if the dude's on steroids, but there's ways to get around it. I mean, after a fight, sometimes they get medical suspensions, and obviously after a brutal fight, they're not fighting again for probably another year.
Yeah.
So they get out of the USADA test pool for certain times within their careers, and it seems like they can start their cycles then and then end them when they. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a fucking expert, but I mean, one thing Colby did say was he has injection marks on his stomach. He's got the acne on his back. Like the acne thing is a sign of like a hormonal imbalance. And then obviously injection marks, which I mean, who knows what their injection marks? It might just be acne, but hey, who knows with Kobe? He's just talking shit. But I mean, you never know. I mean, it's like baseball in the '90s. Like everybody that was hitting home runs in the '90s was on fucking steroids.
But I just from what and maybe this doesn't contradict what you're saying. Like I'm just saying like. From what I've heard, the commentators say, what I've heard other people say, even what I've heard you say is that Kamaru has always been a solid fighter. So it's not surprising to me. And going back and watching his older fights, you see like the evolution of his fighting style.
Sure.
And
you also see the evolution of his endurance, which is why people claim he's on EPOs. Is because that's one thing.
What's EPOs?
Performance enhancing SPDs, EPOs. I don't know the exact like acronym or whatever for EPOs. So.
Okay.
But yeah, I was watching this video last night. This dude who's like a professional like fitness trainer, bodybuilder. He breaks down like a lot of these fighters, their bodies, and gives his honest opinion if he thinks they're on a steroid cycle or not. And the one thing he said was, if you look at his endurance in his first couple fights within the UFC, he got gassed quick. Like he wasn't like how he is now. And look, I mean, that could just be proper training, proper breathing techniques, you know, the natural holistic approach of like improving endurance. But I mean, I don't know. The only person that knows is Kamaru and whoever's giving him steroids, if that's the case. But
regardless of all that, which is an interesting conversation, like I said, that would be an interesting conversation to have.
It's a great fight.
The fight was fucking amazing. Yeah. That whole card was fucking amazing.
Yeah, it was. Chandler and fucking Gaethje was a fucking banger.
I missed that one. Is that the one?
That was the first one. The first one on the main card. It was the one before Rose and Wang Li.
Yeah, I think that was the fight. I think her name's like Zhao Wei Li or something like that. Yeah, what's the one? I think that was the fight you're talking about, because there was one fight they were literally like, "Yo, this fight would be a good fight any other night," but the one prior to this was just so fucking amazing. I missed that one.
They see what they did, because one of the girls, the Rose girl, Kamaru Usman, and Justin Gaethje all have the same coach.
She's a fucking trooper too, by the way.
Trevor Whitman is the coach, and he coaches them all. So I think they wanted to space. It was supposed to go. The last three fights was supposed to be Gaethje, Chandler, Rose versus Wang or whatever the fuck her name is, and then obviously the final one, Kamaru, Kobe. So they had to put Michael Chandler, Gaethje first, and then have two. It was Cheeto Vera versus Frankie Edgar, and
so I did. I missed the first fight though.
those fights are like, I mean, the first couple fights on the main card sometimes are going to be a little boring or iffy. And Chandler and Gaethje, he wasn't supposed. That fight wasn't supposed to be the first fight, but they had to move it around because the coach, like, he couldn't be in the corner of one fight while trying to backstage get his other fighter prepped. So they wanted to space it out. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah, and that's kind of like what I was thinking, like, because like of all the fights that was on that night, like we had the UFC, but I was extremely interested in the Canelo fight too, because Canelo's like he's one of the favorite, well, not favorite, but like the fighters I like to watch. He's a very exciting fighter. So, and honestly, I'm glad I went with the UFC because that fight was good. Like when I watched the highlights, like the fight was good and everything, but the UFC fights were just next level, bro.
I think that's kind of like that's the tone of things right now. Is like UFC is slowly kind of creeping up and taking over. It's getting more mainstream. I mean, it's just becoming a bigger sport slowly and surely. I mean, it's going to take a while to actually steamroll boxing, and who knows if that'll ever happen. But just on a general spectrum, there's way more casuals that like the UFC, that like MMA. Oh, and I'm just going to say the UFC, not MMA, because people aren't watching Bellator.
Yeah,
they're not watching One Fighting Championship or whatever the fuck that league is. It's really the UFC. But all the casual fans gravitate towards that. The people who watch boxing every match, the people that paid for that Canelo fight or went out and watched it, like these people are like boxing, like purists, like maybe not purists, but they're enthusiasts. Like they're not a casual. You have like to like boxing nowadays. I would say you have to be more in a casual. And then the UFC, MMA, it's just like different. Like anybody can, if you have any amount of testosterone in your fucking body, you can appreciate two guys getting in there with fucking 4-ounce gloves and beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah, like Jimmy Dore on YouTube, he be talking about that shit all the time. Like Joe Rogan announces men fighting in cages. But just on like, see, what always fascinated me, like, that's how I used to look at the UFC. I used to look at the UFC as like, oh, it's just two guys hopping in a cage, fucking each other up. But it's actual, like, it's a chess game. People, I really feel like people don't realize that shit. Like, it's just like boxing, but except you got to watch for feet too. Like, and then when you get into the ground game, like it's all chess moves.
Some would argue that boxing is more like what's the not chess, the other fucking game,
checkers.
Yeah, but boxing is more like checkers
Really?
opposed to MMA because you got more weapons in MMA. That's more pieces on the board with different intricacies to how those styles and like the wrestling game, the ground game, the feet, the hands, like all that shit is just it's a way more broad sport.
Okay.
But I mean, no disrespect to boxing.
Oh yeah, I mean, like
yeah.
Boxing. See, what boxing was always something that fascinated me because like it's something niggas could like but UFC you could do UFC just like fighting and shit too. But like I feel like boxing had the what's the word I'm looking for? It had the advantage of coming first, basically.
Right.
Like,
right. Exactly.
It's kind of, but it's
like
weird.
Grandfather then.
Yeah, it's weird though. It's weird though because I be thinking about like kind of like baseball a little bit. Like when like baseball came first before like basketball and all that shit, but now baseball is like by far like it's not the most popular sport out. Like
right.
So
it's a little bit outdated.
Yeah, that's what's kind of weird because it's like when you're looking at like I would say like even to some extent hockey is more popping than baseball.
Hockey is popping, bro.
Hockey is lit.
Yeah, you need to go to a hockey game. I would be down. I was telling Chrissy we need to go. The most now I've never been to a live basketball game, so I can't necessarily speak for that. I'm sure it is exciting.
I am pleasured to have. I got to see Dwayne Wade play before he retired. I'm glad to see that. I went to the Sixers Heat game. This is back when LeBron was on there.
And fuck him and his daughter. But yeah. I've never seen a basketball game live. I've seen baseball. I've seen football. I've seen hockey. And out of all the sports live, hockey.
I've heard hockey is lit.
It's just nonstop action. It's nonstop.
Let me tell you. Can I tell you about my Eagles experience?
What,
bro? The first Eagles game I went. The first and only Eagles game I went to, bro. So me and my mom are walking in. Right. This was the.
You got a Cowboys jersey on?
No, I was an Eagles fan. Nigga.
Nah,
I'm an Eagles fan. But we walking into the stadium. This is the first year Michael Vick was there, so it was a whole.
Oh yeah, I already.
It was a whole bunch of old ass. I'm not trying to specify. It was a bunch of
Old ass women.
Old ass white women.
Don't do that.
Old ass white women.
Man,
Because there was no black women out there. There was no Asian women out there.
My grandma was there, and don't disrespect my grandma.
I ain't disrespecting Granny. I'm just saying what it is, man. But nah, they had the protest the Michael Vick signs and shit. And this drunk dude walked by. He was like, take your old asses home. He not even playing today. Go home.
Eagles fans, like the most ruthless, disrespectful, grimy, disgusting human beings on the planet are Eagles fans.
And we love them.
We do. These are the same fans that threw snowballs at Santa Claus.
Bro.
I mean, that was years back, but that's still, that's like a staple.
Didn't Charlamagne's dad get arrested at the Eagle Stadium?
Nah, he was like a Dallas fan, and I think I know what story you're talking about. He had a taser on. He tased somebody at a Dallas game. And don't ask me why the fuck I actually know all the details of that. Fucking Charlemagne.
But then when we walked past them, this dude walked by with a Hide Your Beagle Vixen Eagle T-shirt, and it had a dog from Family Guy on it, bro. So we get inside. We're about to go buy our food and shit like that. Like the bitch at the counter was rude as fuck, and her and my mom got into an argument. It's funny as shit. And then
Black people can't go nowhere and not argue with somebody.
Because
Black people and Eagles fans.
Nah, my mom is nice as shit. Like she was like the girl was acting like she didn't want to service.
I'm not racist,
but then we walk
a little bit, but
but then we walk into the John. We walk into our seats and shit, and a fight breaks out. And me and my mom walk past there, and we finally get to our fucking seats. We get to our seats, and another fucking fight breaks out, and the cop comes running to break the fight up, and he gripped this dude up. And no, we're up in the nosebleeds. Gripped this dude up, and they almost went over the edge, bro.
Every time I've ever sat in the nosebleed section of any sporting event, I always get like this weird vertigo. It's just like, or maybe it's just like some type of phobia where it's like, yo, if my fat ass trips once,
we're going down.
This whole thing is over. I'm going off the third story and I'm landing on somebody's fucking son, and they're gonna die.
But then the final worst part. Now the game, actually, no, that wasn't. So the game before, you know how when the game start and they have the aircraft Johns fly over the stadium. Mm-hmm. No, we're in the fucking nosebleeds, bro.
Shit goes almost over your head. You could have touched the plane. That's how high up you were.
That John rocked us. My mom was looking around like nigga, bro, that shit was crazy, dog.
That's funny.
But then the last thing that happened was like, and this was against the Saints too. Motherfucking what happened? This lady there was a Saints fan. She had the Saints jersey on and everything.
They beat the shit out of her.
She was from New Orleans, and like they scored, and she started cheering. And this Eagles, you could tell the whole time she was already annoyed by her wearing the jersey. She was already annoyed by her, but then when she started cheering, she's like, "Bitch, shut the fuck up! Fuck your team!" It's the face. You could tell she was drunk as shit. Her face was red, bro. That drum was red. I'm like, oh my God.
It's like being an Eagles fan amongst Eagles fans is like, it's like being a kid and having that like ratchet ass uncle and aunt that used to stir shit up at the family fucking parties all the time. You knew they were ignorant as a motherfucker, but like you kind of fucked with them though. Like you fucked with the entertainment. Like it was like you had love for them. It was like entertaining and they were wild, but like you distance yourself from them a little bit. That's how I feel as an Eagles fan. It's like I'm an Eagles fan, but I also know how the fuck Eagles fans can get.
Exactly. I think the best.
It's like that Chris Rock bit.
Yo, shut up. I know what you're saying.
I'm playing.
But then I've been to Phillies games. Phillies games are the best sports experience I've been to outside.
Yeah.
But basketball was lit too because I went to the Sixers Magic game. And Tobias Harris hit the buzzer beater game winning shot against y'all that
must
night.
Have been recent.
He was on the Magic back then. He was on the Magic, and he hit the game winning buzzer beater. And my homie is a Celtics fan. My homie Kutai, shout out Kutai, and our homie Zach. His name was like Zach Baker. He used to live around the corner from me. These motherfuckers walking out like, yeah, go Magic. They're not even Magic fans. They're just like our friend Joey, who
just troll him.
Yeah, dog. And like
Don't
literally,
do that in Philly.
This motherfucker was leaning out the car window like, "Go Magic, go Magic!" And you just see like the Sixers fans, not like the Eagles fans. They was giving them dirty looks. They was looking at him crazy, but they ain't saying no. You know, they ain't.
If they were Eagles fans, you'd have got a beer to the car. They'd have probably thrown the brick that they had in their pocket at you. So what else? What else is going on?
But that fight. But let's go back into the fight though. So I want to talk about the what is her name? the Rose fight.
Rose, Naman Junior.
That was a fucking amazing fight, bro.
It was a good fight.
Like, you could tell, like, Rose really gassed her out. That's literally what she did. She gassed her out because you saw she was doing all that movement because she wasn't trying to get knocked the fuck out again in the first round. She did last time. She was doing all that movement, but it seemed like she was over antsy. Weili. It seemed like she was over antsy because I feel like she could have won that fight, but she was like, and I feel like in her mind she was psyching herself out, like, I'm not trying to get knocked out again, this, that, and the third.
It could be some type of complex from that.
But Rose is she is a solid fighter. Like I said,
I'm telling you, man, it's Trevor Whitman. He's a coach for Rose. Her striking is like probably the best, at least in her division, in the women's division. And then Kamaru Usman, when he got with Trevor Whitman. Before that,
they got the same coach?
He was a wrestler first. Like he was not the biggest striker in the world.
Usman's power got up there too.
Right. Also, another argument for the EPL shit and the PEDs. But as far as his form and like, you know, working his jab more and that straight right that knocked fucking Jorge Masvidal the fuck out. That's all. Like that's practice. That's time. That's being with a coach that knows their shit. And like as soon as he got with Trevor Whitman, like. That's when his striking improved like a motherfucker. It wasn't just like a wrestling match with some striking mixed in. Like, you know, it's the funny thing about like, you know, two wrestlers. Like Kobe's a wrestler first, but in recent times has had to work his striking in with his fucking MAGA character just to stay afloat in the UFC, just to get fights. And
I love the character though. I love it.
I mean, love it or hate it. It's like the Kardashian effect. He's like all eyes are good eyes. Like even if you want to see him get knocked the fuck out, you're
like,
still tuning in.
I feel like Kobe. I had an idea for Kobe to do a Old Spice commercial. I think it should be him and an American flag boxers in the middle of a desert with an American flag back there, kind of like the Kanye "Touch the Sky" video a little bit. I had that shit playing. Let Kanye produce the song for you, dog. That shit would be lit, bro.
I'm not watching that. It's terrible. Horrible idea.
But I fuck with the character. It reminds me of Conor because I feel like we've been kind of missing a void with Conor not being active,
sure,
like he usually is. So
I think it's like Conor without any of Conor's personality. Like Kobe is really a mild mannered, soft spoken type of guy, and anybody that sees him behind the scenes they'll say the same thing. He's very mild mannered. He's respectful. He's not, you know. He's trying to be like the WWE heel, and like he doesn't do the best job at it. I don't think it's natural for him. Like it's natural for Conor to be like an egotistical shit talking motherfucker,
yeah.
And that's why it just don't come off as natural for Kobe. But he has to do what he's got to do. I mean, it worked out for him. Like he stayed in the UFC when they were about to cut him because he was in Brazil, beat Damian Maia, and called Brazil a bunch of filthy animals. Which is like obviously everybody. If you know anything about the UFC, you know anything about Kobe. Everybody knows that story. But it kept him afloat.
And if you know anything about Brazil, especially during that time period, their president right now is Jair Bolsonaro. He's basically like the Brazilian version of Trump, and he's a huge like Trump guy. He loves Trump. So it's kind of weird that he would say that because like, but
yeah.
But
yeah, and the biggest takeaway from that fight, or the biggest like oh shit moment, I don't even think it was the fight. It was afterwards when the first thing Kobe did was after the fight was over, shot over to Usman and gave him like some words. I mean, people were like speculating on what he actually said. It sounded like, you know, it's nothing personal, the shit talking. And like I don't think anybody expected that from Kobe at all. Like they never expected him to break character or even just his natural self to be somebody that would show that respect, and he did. I think that was the biggest takeaway. Was like, damn, like win or lose, whoever your guy was, if it was Usman, if it was Kobe, that was just nice to see.
It was, and I always like that with the UFC. And I was talking to you about this on the phone the other night. Like, I'm more of a fan of the martial art. Like, the characters and everything are funny. It's funny to see, like, when you got Conor doing his thing and shit like that. Obviously, you got Kobe doing his thing, Masvidal, you know, doing their back and forth and everything. Mm-hmm. But I like the art, the actual, like, I'm into martial arts. So
we like the shit talking though, man. That's what gets us to watch, man.
But if they didn't have it, I would be fine.
I wouldn't watch two dudes do capoeira for 3 hours, but I would watch two guys that fucking hype the fight up and beat the shit out of each other for 5 minutes or for 15, sometimes 25 minutes. But I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. The sport itself is nice. It's just nice to have the the shit talking and the characters and the storylines behind it on top of the already exciting sport. That's why it's the best sport, combat sport. I feel like
it's definitely the best. It's definitely the best combat sport. Like for me, I guess like I'll rank my favorite sports. I guess like basketball's number one for me. I've always loved basketball. Like I love basketball. I would probably put football at 2, baseball at 3, and then probably like I guess MMA and then boxing. And like I said, I don't watch hockey, so I can't say much about hockey, but it seems fun. It seems entertaining. Like I said, I just never watched it. Like,
dude, hockey is crazy. Like when you go to your first hockey game and witness your first hockey fight, like fighting is a part of the sport. And like most people, a lot of people that I guess haven't watched hockey at a young age or haven't been tuned in, they don't realize that. Like it's up, like the two guys are beefing, like wild games going on. They drop their gloves, separate, and then fight, and the refs let them fight.
Yeah,
it's a part of the sport. It's literally a part of the sport. And it's just crazy, like, especially, like, you know, I'm glad, like, that hasn't been pussified like the fucking NBA and, like, the NFL, which I don't think the hockey won't ever reach that point, at least not for a long time.
Yeah, the NFL, especially the NBA, like, the NBA, and especially in the 90s, used to be known for niggas going out there and, like, straight up fighting, bro. Like, nigga. Like,
and I feel like punches would be thrown, and I don't even think sometimes people would get ejected.
But it's been a couple dust ups. Like the last couple seasons, it's been a couple dust ups. It ain't been like crazy. But
last one I remember is like Rondo and Chris Paul.
That was funny. That was
Chris
funny.
Paul. I don't know if Rondo spit
in his face. Yeah,
and then Chris Paul like put a finger on his head, which obviously as soon as you get spit on, you have all right to kind of fucking just be throwing hands. But
see, from what I heard though, I heard that caused the rift between the Lakers because LeBron is like really good friends with Chris. Yeah. And that kind of caused a rift because they felt like, oh, you didn't protect Rondo, this, that. But just to segue into basketball real quick.
Spit in his face.
Yeah, but just to segue into basketball real quick, I'm like, with LeBron, though, it's like it's weird to see him, like, this nigga has people on his team now that were, like, on rival teams. Like, Rondo, back when he was on the Heat, like, they hated this nigga, bro. Like, that's the Celtics culture, especially when you had Paul Pierce, KG, Ray Allen there. That was the whole beef between them and Ray Allen because Ray Allen left and went to the Heat, and they like, yo, you a bitch for that. But it's like it's weird to see all these people that he was like basically kind of enemies with at the time be on his team now. I guess that's just a product of his like mindset. And
I mean, they realized that LeBron's daddy. I mean, it just is what it is.
I don't know about that.
Love him or hate him, but if you want a fucking ring, your best chance is getting on LeBron's team.
I don't know about that. Nah, because you got
right
Giannis.
Now, the Lakers suck.
Yeah, you got Giannis now. You got the fucking Warriors are back. I saw Mir was tweeting about that the other night. He was like, yo, all y'all talking shit about my Warriors is in the third.
I mean, we could see the start of the end of the super team era. Because look at Giannis, small market team. I mean, who's he really have around him? I mean, he's got Chris Middleton or whatever. He's got
nobody knows who these niggas are.
He's got Eric Bledsoe, I think his name is. I know the last name is Bledsoe. But, I mean, they played well. They rallied around each other and won the finals. But like compared to like the super teams we know of, like LeBron, Bosh, Wade. Fucking
see, that's not a super team to me though.
Nah, come on,
bro. Like literally,
I don't know what you're.
Nigga, you had fucking Chris. Like I feel like people look. Chris Bosh was a really good player on Toronto, but he lost his step when he went to Miami. People forget that shit. He was not the same Bosh. He was getting dominated. They put him at the 5, so he was getting dominated by all the centers back then. He wasn't.
It's a different. If we're comparing that Heat team to like nowadays, then yeah, maybe they're not as much of a super team as Kyrie, Harden, and fucking Durant. I mean, you could still argue they were probably better as a 3-piece.
I feel like the super team is actually the fucking Warriors. Your starting 5 are all stars.
When,
nigga, Curry, Clay,
Clay's been injured.
Iguodala. I'm talking about
Iguodala's old as fuck.
I'm talking about
back then.
Yeah, Iguodala. Yeah. You're probably going to disagree with me. Draymond
Green
is an all-star. He's an all-star.
He's like,
and then you got KD.
Step below all-star.
And then you got KD.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously that was.
And then you got 2 other niggas on the bench. I forget the 2 other niggas that was on the bench.
But see, that's what happened. Like a lot of those players, I think, were drafted. They weren't purchased off. Like they weren't traded.
No, they were. Yes, they were.
KD was the only one. They drafted Clay.
Yeah,
they drafted Steph Curry. Those are all Warriors' first players.
Well, Clay got his start up in summer league ball. Like Clay was known, like he was like one of the. Summer League Kings and shit like that. I believe Curry was too, if I'm not mistaken. But him and Curry like grew. It was really Clay and Curry's team for a while when they weren't really winning shit like that.
Sure, their little small market 3-piece was
Then Draymond then
Clay, and then Curry.
Yeah, but then Draymond started stepping his play up more, and that's when he became that third piece. And then they had the fourth. They got Iguodala over there, and then they got KD over there. Now, for me, it's like
I still don't think that's as big of a super team as what LA has right now, or
I'm not
what
disagreeing
Brooklyn has with Kyrie.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I think it got worse after them. But for me, like you're dealing with Miami. I feel like Miami gets the stigma, like especially when LeBron he left Cleveland. He was basically the villain for leaving Cleveland and all that shit.
Yeah,
he was the heel basically for basketball at that time. So it's like it's very weird that now like. That Warriors team is just now getting the criticism they deserve, in my opinion.
I don't know. I think they got a lot of criticism back when that switch was made, back when KD went on the team. I think they got their fair share of criticism for sure. Just as much as LeBron did for going to the Heat.
But my thing is,
I don't know. I don't know too much about
my thing is you have a
basketball.
LeBron that went with an ailing Wade at the time. Wade was not the same Dwayne Wade at that time. Then, and again, as I say, Chris Bosh. And then who else was Chalmers? I like Chalmers, but
Mario Chalmers was at least his rating in 2K was pretty decent when LeBron was on the Heat.
Yeah, because when you're on the fucking Heat, when you're on the team with LeBron, you're going to get those.
Well, that's like playing on the fucking team with Tom Brady. He makes everybody probably look better around him.
Yeah,
you know, he played all his fucking wide receiver team. His wide receivers, Tom Brady's wide receiving core at fucking the Patriots was a bunch of Jews.
The Saints whooped their ass, bro.
Who? Patriots?
The Bucks. What's it that last week they played last Sunday?
I don't know. Honestly, the Eagles been so disappointing. I don't even fucking care about football.
I feel you, bro. I've been honestly the only thing I've been following is UFC for real. UFC and basketball. Like I'm just getting back into basketball.
UFC has to be my favorite sport right now. I mean, football is second. I mean, I watch basketball here and there, but like the UFC is it right now. That's what I'm saying. Like they're the most exciting sport for casuals. Period.
I think I'm about to start getting into soccer personally, though.
Yeah, fuck that.
Like I've been peeping.
One thing I've never said in my life was I'm going to get into soccer.
Nah, it looks exciting though. Like when I hear like people talking about it, because of American Autopsy, I talk to a lot of people like overseas and shit. They be telling me, "Yo, soccer is exciting." Like how y'all fuck with football in America. That's what soccer is.
I don't give a fuck what person you talk to and what they said. Fucking 40 people on a field with pads and helmets on, killing each other every play is way more exciting to me.
I'm not disagreeing with
some
you.
Fucking skinny ass malnourished motherfuckers from some poor ass countries kicking a fucking ball around.
I'm not disagreeing. Well,
I can't say that. Soccer players are like one of the biggest athletes out there.
What I'm saying,
they can run. That's it.
What I'm saying is though, for the rest of the world, that's what soccer is. Their football for the rest of the world.
It's the most dominant sport in the world. I don't think it's the most exciting.
It looks exciting.
I don't know, man. That's just fucking boring. I'd rather fucking look at my own asshole in the mirror for 8 hours and watch a fucking soccer game.
You're tripping. I'm gonna definitely say I'm probably gonna start peeping soccer more, but UFC, like we said, UFC is kind of the sport right now, and that was the fights. Like I said, especially if the cards keep, I know the cards aren't going to be like the card we just had, but it didn't have a Conor on there. It didn't have, it had Usman and Colby, but it didn't really have. I feel like the casual fan didn't know who most of the people were.
What?
I'm talking about like me, fans like me, niggas like me.
Well, I mean, there's like the casual fans that like know the rosters and like they know the big name fighters, somewhat big name fighters, and you got people that just like watch it here and there that are like a step below the casual fan. But if you're at all connected to the UFC world, like what's going on right now. The fight. I
didn't know about Rose and Whaley. I didn't know
the
previous fights and shit. All I knew was Usman and Colby.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I guess a step above, somewhat of I don't know.
Like that fight was the deal breaker for me. It was like, all right, it's Colby and Usman. I'll watch that instead of Canelo and homeboy and Caleb Plant. So he knocked him the fuck out. He knocked him the fuck out.
Canelo?
Bro, he knocked him the
11th round, too. I mean, that dude lasted till the 11th round.
Yeah, but the way
Caleb Plant's not no fucking scrub. And I think Canelo actually won a belt off of Plant. Like, they were fighting for a title that Plant had, I believe. He took a belt from him, and obviously, there's like 87 belts for each fucking weight in boxing. Like,
that's what's weird to me,
there's
too.
like a 156-pound belt, then a 157-pound belt. Like, it's not like the UFC where you have like welterweight belt and that's it.
That's what I'm saying. I wish they would like streamline it like that, because it's like trying to keep up with all the belts and shit. It is weird to me.
The UFC is like, I hope they don't start to do that, but the BMF belt with Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz fought when they fought for the first time, their only time. They created a new belt. It was the bad motherfucker belt, the BMF belt.
That's fucking dumb.
And Jorge has it still. He hasn't defended it because it's not a real belt. It was kind of a novelty thing, but like, I hope they keep it like that, not adding a bunch of belts, because it takes away the luster of like a championship fight if there's 87 fucking belts.
Yeah, that's weird to me.
All right, what do you want? What's
I'm talking about the highest in the room. Hey, I'm about to kill somebody's kid. Hey, it's not the highest in the room. Let's talk about this Travis shit, bro.
I'm hiding behind my money, bro.
He hiding behind the money.
Behind my money.
Behind the money.
Fuck this money, bro. Fuck this shit.
Nigga,
fuck
the money.
Travis Scott and fuck that money. I don't care. It's the root of all evil. This right here is what got them kids killed at that concert.
Bro, I'm gonna say this. Like, to say that he did not try to stop the concert is a lie.
He didn't tell the crowd to
He literally told the crowd to back away from him.
Not from the ambulance that was
Multiple
coming
times.
through, bro. I
Multiple
seen the
times.
ambulance sitting with people on top of the ambulance.
Yeah, but what I'm
People
saying
around
is,
the ambulance.
what I'm saying is he told them to do it. Now the crowd,
What, to hop on the fucking ambulance?
no, to separate, to make room for the ambulance.
They
to
didn't.
Get there.
Well, no, the ambulance was literally.
It's
like
not up to him.
60 feet
He can't-
away.
He can't
You
control.
got to stop the show.
You
gotta
can't
stop
control
the show.
thousands of people in the crowd.
You have to stop the show. You have to cut the music and stop the show. He did.
He stopped the show.
If he made any attempt, he stopped it briefly. And then when he seen there was no leeway being made by the ambulance, he said, "You know what? Fuck that. Put your fucking hands up." And he kept going with his fucking song. Fuck that, bro.
I don't remember that.
Fuck him. And now, listen. Now he's apologizing. Now he's fake crying on fucking Instagram like, man, I'm so sorry, man. Fuck you.
He apologized the next night, bro.
No, I don't want to hear that. Okay.
Or the next
night,
day.
The next
The-
day.
the- literally the next day.
After all this controversy was brought up, after he was headlining. I seen this story on CNN.
Yeah,
And obviously
because
they were like vouching for him. They were saying, oh, he did everything he could do. Because, they'd never say anything wrong about a rapper or a black guy. But,
no.
well,
no.
within
If you
the
listen to
culture.
Kanye West just
All right,
Kanye just came out and said rapper is the new N-word. And I listen
I
to
don't second
Kanye.
that at all. I think that's wrong. I don't think anybody should say that word.
Nah,
That
but
word.
what I'm saying is, though, the point that I'm making is that he did make attempts to stop the
On
concert.
camera.
Yeah, you're on camera. Yeah. He did make
do about these?
he did make attempts to stop the concert. That's all I'm fucking saying. To say that he didn't is a lie. It's a
I don't
fallacy.
think. I think
It's-
he
you know
made.
what it is?
I
You know
think
what it
he
is?
made an attempt.
You know what it is? The
What
culture
is it?
guy, the quote Kobe's favorite guy. It's fake news.
I think he made maybe a brief attempt, but that ambulance didn't get to those kids that were seizing on the fucking ground.
Now I'm not saying
He continued the concert. He even had the video I seen. Two of his boys rushed over to him on stage, like on some like, "What are we doing? Like, there's people dying in the crowd right now," and you hear him on the mic say, "Nah, fuck that. Like, get away." And then, put your fucking hands up while people are dying, while the ambulance is still far away from the kids that need help. And I just don't. I don't have any. I mean, I don't have any sympathy for if he does get canceled. I really don't give a fuck. I mean, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he did try to do, more than I'm claiming he did. But from the video I seen, he made a brief attempt, and then after that, when the crowd didn't clear, the crowd that you help manifest, the crowd that comes to your shows to literally riot, and like that's your whole aura, like. You got to take, it's not all his responsibility, but some of it is.
Oh, yeah, I'm not denying that. I definitely agree with you there. But it's like we've had so many catastrophes at concerts. My thing is making it out to be the absolute worst one, where you have like Woodstock. I was literally reading an article about this shit. Like there's been so many concerts that this has happened with.
And guess what? The news media ripped those people up. And like, all right, we want to get into like you know, the whole satanic, like people, these conspiracies about Travis Scott, especially after this concert.
They
are retarded. But the other day you told me something. You said it's just funny how whenever a black celebrity or person in music gets power or notoriety or fame or whatever, it's always like, oh, they're in the Illuminati, this and that.
Well, I wasn't attributing that to white people. That's attributed to black people.
Oh, okay.
I hate when
you were
I hate
saying
when
it's
black
always white conservative Christians that are coming up with the conspiracies.
No, I'm saying
with a black artist.
I'm saying on my timeline, that's what I was seeing. I was making a separate critique about religion. So when it came to the Christian conservative white people, like I was saying, and I even talked to Graf about this other night. I was like, yo, instantly when I saw the shit going down with Travis Scott, I instantly thought about when back in the Snapfest days when they were supposed to get signed and shit like that, and they ended up not getting signed because the nigga thought he was a Satanist when he's a fucking Wiccan. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, most conservative Christians don't know the difference between a Satanist and a Wiccan.
No, they don't, because they hear witchcraft and that obviously just sets them off. But like, I mean, if somebody, I'm not even going to go into the whole Snapfest or Wiccan thing or whatever. But I just thought in that message you sent, it was more of like a shot at white Christian conservatives, and maybe you said that's all you were seeing on your timeline is them reposting these conspiracies. But like, back to my point, like, yo, these past shows we're talking about, Woodstock, you know, Pearl Jam, I seen was one of them.
Yeah.
In that era, like, look at Black Sabbath. They were seen as devil worshippers.
Obama just had fucking Pearl Jam at his birthday concert.
Black Sabbath was a fucking band that came out.
But Ozzy Osbourne is still worshipped to this day by white people. That's very ironic.
Their whole aesthetic, Black Sabbath, was kind of dark and devil aspect. They were really anti-war. And they have a song called War
No,
Bags.
I know. That's what I'm saying. No, I'm agreeing with you on that.
But they got painted as the what is now the Illuminati, devil worshiping, like esque type of shit, and that happened back in the day too.
I feel like by the internet, subgroup, and by like parts of. But now when people hear like War Pigs or a Black Sabbath song, you don't see people saying, "Oh, devil worshiper" and shit like that. I think it's because, and I also think it's because, like you said, rap is the popping genre right now.
Right.
Where back in the day, rock was. So I wasn't solely just attributing it. Like the racial aspect was more so targeted towards black people that do this to other black people. Because it's like, all right. And my thing was the generational wealth, though. So when you talk about, now we have a difference of opinion. I'm not trying to go too deep into the politics, you know, the economic shit and everything. But it's like, for me, the whole, you know, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, create your own wealth. Well, whenever a fucking nigga does that, they go find something else to critique him about. Like, for example, not even take Travis Scott out of the equation when we're talking about rappers. Take somebody like Jay-Z. Jay-Z gets demonized for his fucking politics, and they just take his political leanings and alignments as an overall way to demonize him overall. Like, you have Tommy Lauren on Facebook saying, "You used to be a drug dealer," this, that, and the third. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but guess what?
But don't you do the same thing though? Don't you look at Jay-Z and his attachment to the Democratic Party and go like, "Oh, you fucking shucking and jiving ass motherfucker"?
No, I don't. I'm talking about, and this, like I said, I'm not trying to go too deep into the politics. What I'm saying is, I'm going based upon the words, you know, Jay-Z talks about Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, and all these people a lot. Malcolm X and Fred Hampton was talking about getting away from capitalism. They wasn't talking about becoming a new black elite, as Jay-Z talks about. That's not what they were talking about. Malcolm X and Fred Hampton did not fuck with elites, regardless of what skin color the fuck they were. They weren't about building.
Jay-Z wants to be a part of that table.
Exactly.
And Malcolm X and they wanted to create their own table to sit at.
And that's exactly, well, not necessarily, well, their own table. But what I'm saying is we need to be joining hands with all of our fellow Americans when it comes to that type of shit. Like, regardless of race, color, and all that shit.
Yeah, I think that's where the sweet spot is with everything. I think that's what the government, the news media outlets,
they hate that shit.
They don't want that to happen.
That's why they get certain artists the fuck out of here, bro. Like, say what you want about Kanye. I know he has his fucking problems, but some of the ideas that he talks about promotes those types of things. Did you see his last interview, bro?
I can't do it with Kanye.
Did you see his last interview?
I can't take somebody serious that uses mental health to sell sneakers, bro.
I don't think, but that's the thing. I don't think he's using mental health to sell sneakers, but like just that
to sell sneakers,
you know. But nah, just that last interview, bro. Like, he kept going in on John Legend, bro.
They gave that motherfucker one hit of a blunt and he went off,
bro. He kept going in on John Legend, bro. He said, nah. It was literally, he went at Big Sean. He went at Big Sean once throughout the whole interview, the whole 2-hour interview. he kept going back to John Legend. He was like, y'all, he said, y'all out here acting like John Legend don't be doing what them folks tell him to do, this, that, and the third. Like, literally, they would be talking about something completely else. He was like, you know what that reminds me of? How John Legend be going out there doing what the Democrats tell him to do, bro. He was going in on John Legend. Those are the types of niggas I can't stand. And I love John Legend's music. I cannot fucking stand John Legend, bro, because of his political shit. And that's where
it's just like, do you think John Legend knows any better? Do you think like maybe a deep part of him is like, there might be something kind of malicious about this, kind of like fucked up about what I'm doing, and then they just ignore it, or are they just not like?
It's generational with black people. It's generational with black people.
So he really actually thinks he's doing the right thing.
Yes, I believe that. Yes.
Okay, I can see that.
Because that's like.
Apparently, him and Chrissy Teigen eat babies.
Yeah, that's the whole rumor. It's weird. But that's
look, man. I some of my views are conservative. Some of my views are liberal. You know, I disagree with a lot of things on the liberal side of things. I disagree with a lot of things on the conservative side of things. But when the whole QAnon Trump crowd started calling every liberal elite or a liberal in Hollywood like a baby eater that went to, maybe the Jeffrey Epstein Island shit. Some of it has some truth to it, but like. Once you start there's like stem cell research and the benefits that come with that, and I'm pretty sure stem cells are derived from a fetus, but that doesn't mean.
But that's my problem with fucking religion. That's my problem with religion. They view anything in that category as anti. Like when you have somebody that's stuck in their own, and I think you were the one that told me this. Like you can't deal, like to a certain extent, you can deal with these people. There's less delusionment among some people. Like you got some of the Christian religious people that use, Christianity as like a moral compass. Basically, they don't take things word for word. But then when you keep going down,
fanaticize.
Yeah, but when you keep going down that spectrum, you'll see it, and it's like a lot of those niggas are niggas in power on both Democrats and Republican side. Sure. That's why you have a unanimous worship of Israel across the board.
Well, going back to like fetuses, though. I would think a lot of there's people that aren't religious that hear the idea of stem cells and then extract it. Yeah. People that aren't religious that hear the idea of stem cells and the extraction of stem cells from fetuses and how they're used and kind of are a little discomforted by that with no religious ties. And then obviously there's the people that are religious. Now, I don't know. Like if some shit's fucked up and a religious person's at the forefront of saying, hey, this is wrong, just because they're religious, in my mind, I'm not going to negate from the fact that what they're saying could be true.
But it's usually either a half truth or they're misrepresenting the truth in a sense. Like, yeah, it could still be fucked up, but the way you're saying it, you feel me, is misrepresenting what the actual thing is. Right. So that's the problem with me is when you get these religious people involved, it becomes that. Like I said, like me and Greg, like I literally called him when this shit broke out because I'm like, he kept popping in my mind because I'm like, this is a person I know who's Wiccan, who has been accused of being a Satanist. As soon as they see the pentagram on his crystals and shit.
And he would also probably play into that too.
Yeah, I'm not denying that.
He's also somebody who's sat down with a Christian kid or that was his friend, and I'm pretty sure like questioned his religion.
But that's what
and like it has to be respect. Just because you've had negative interactions with Christianity or negative interactions from a certain religion, like you can't just like I don't know. I don't even want to go into that. It's not
but basically, my point is, as we need that. Like at one, I thought America was a secular country. I thought that's what we were. I thought religion was supposed to be taken out, the separation of church, even though church and state still isn't really separate. We don't have to go into that, but I thought that's like you were free to worship your own God. Now, when you call somebody, like calling somebody a Satanist or a devil worshiper, it's almost the equivalent of calling them a pedophile or that they eat babies. Like you know what you're doing when you're doing that.
I don't know.
You're trying to
devil worshiper might be worse.
It's like the Crucible. That's literally what the whole point of the Crucible was. Yeah. So it's like when you do that, and I'm not sitting here defending a rich famous guy like Travis Scott. That's not what I'm trying to do. But what I'm saying is like, I feel like Christians like know what you're talking about when you're saying shit. And a lot of the people that point out this devil worshiping shit, the satanic shit, these are the same people that be calling out liberals for, the woke shit, the gender shit and everything. Words mean things. All right. Well, when it comes to your fucking God, when it comes to your religion, make sure you keep that same fucking energy.
My whole thing is, all right, so
keep that same energy.
So we have to keep the same energy when we talk about other religions being pried at, poked at, and prodded, and maybe humiliated, maybe trolled, slandered. We like to keep a certain energy. If a white man comes at Islam, they're seen as Islamophobic, and they're wrong. You should let people do their religion. Don't prod these people. Don't poke these people. Well, keep that same energy when Lil Nas X is out here fucking trolling the entire religion of Christianity, and then people have the nerve to be like, "Oh, he shouldn't be getting death threats." Well, yo, don't be poking the bear.
No,
keep
but
the
my
same
thing
energy.
is, but my thing is,
my
thing is, there's a difference with Islam, though. See, when you get people like Sam Harris,
you know what I'm saying, though. You understand my point?
I get your point, but what I'm saying is, when you get people like Sam Harris, when you get the people that have come out and publicly criticized Islam,
Sam Harris is also a notorious atheist, and he criticizes Christianity too.
My thing is though, Sam Harris always eliminates and I'm not trying to go too far into politics here, but he always ignores the imperialism that has been going on in the Middle East for over 150 fucking years, to where they've been brutally invaded from outside forces to the point where their religion has not been able to evolve. It's been breeding the most extreme people amongst them, because people are going to turn to extremes when they're in those situations. So you can't judge the religion based upon what you're seeing now, when you have these outside forces that has been fucking with this religion forever. So all right. So the only thing I'm gonna say is, like, I don't think Lil Nas X would troll Islam.
And I'm sure,
I'm
110%. Hold on, I'm 110% sure that Islam wants to see, like, the people in Islam do not fuck with Lil Nas X's lifestyle. They don't fuck with his music videos. They don't fuck with none of that shit. Why are you purposely and specifically targeting these specific people? It's because, I can tell you why. It's because white America is predominantly not Islamic. They're predominantly white Christians, right? Well, for the most part. I mean, who knows what the percentage is of white Americans that are Christian. A lot of people are actually turning away from religion, but that's a whole different conversation. You fucking cultivate the outrage. You use the fucking Kardashian effect. You get the eyes on you, even if it's eyes that don't like you, do like you, whatever. And it gets your name out there. But we got to keep the same energy. You don't fuck with people's religion, in my mind. And if you do, I'm all for, like, you know, it's a free country. You got the freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want. But guess what? When motherfuckers are giving you death threats, and when somebody runs up on you and fucks you up for talking that shit, for coming at their culture, coming at their life, just like if he did it to somebody who was Islamic, I say the same shit. You asked for that shit. And the difference is, like, when somebody like Lil Nas X prods and pokes at white America and Christianity, he's not getting no backlash for that. Like, he's not going to get canceled. He's not going to get taken off of YouTube. He's not going to get all these things that would happen if maybe if the roles were reversed.
No, but hold on.
White man.
No, wait.
I'm just saying.
I
think that's pretty obvious.
Nah, it's not, because the point
knows that.
Nah, the point is, though, the point that Lil Nas X is pointing out by doing the gay video, by doing the Satan shoe, is that it's very hypocritical. You don't see gay people running around telling Christians how to live their lives, until it comes up to Christians telling gay people how to live their lives. Lil Nas X, his video of him, like, dancing with Satan or whatever in hell and shit, and like that,
giving Satan a lap dance and sucking Satan's dick. Or whatever
why?
Eating Satan's asshole.
Like, why? Like, my thing is when you got Lil Nas X doing that video, my whole point is, it's not like he's a gay ass nigga. You feel me? He's gay. Like, he's gay. What do you want me to say? He's gay.
I don't think anybody's arguing otherwise.
But
clearly.
my point is,
I think the equivalent of that video of him dancing with the devil and making out and sucking his dick, whatever. That's the equivalent of a fucking white Baptist church going and making a fucking anti-gay music video and basically slandering the gay community or trolling the gay community and basically saying "fuck you" to them. How fucking viral would that video go?
But my thing is, what if Lil Nas X is a Satanist?
Huh?
What if he's a Satanist?
All right, come on, dog.
No, I'm saying, what if he's a Satanist?
I don't think he is.
How do you know? Do you know Lil Nas X?
What if he's straight?
I think he is, personally.
What the fuck? Now we're just having these... Now we're just speculating.
Nah, but I like the reason why I like what he's doing is because I feel like it's opening up questions about... Most people don't understand their own fucking... Most Christians don't even know their fucking Bible is full of shit. Your Bible has like 100 and something books taken out of it. There's literally... I was talking to Todd I think it was Todd. I was talking to Todd on the phone about this the other day. I'm like, bro, they literally have this whole book of it's called like the agnosticism of Christ or some shit like that, where it's basically a whole kind of like Bible type. It's like a whole book of the Bible where it's written by like different people in Jesus's life outside of the 12 disciples. It's written by like his family members, friends that knew him. There's even like excerpts from Mary in the book and shit like that. And there's a book of Judas within that book where Judas is talking about how he thinks Christ, and it contextualizes why he betrayed Christ. He believed Christ he believes Christ is basically pulling the wool over people's eyes. He was a false prophet, and that's why he betrayed Christ. So that's what I'm saying. You guys don't even understand the intricacies and complexities of your own fucking religion, much less trying to basically castigate somebody else's shit and what they're doing. Sit down.
That's like asking the LGBTQ, about their gender identity politics.
But you're just as hypocritical. But my thing is, these are the same niggas that critique those people for that, but you don't look at your own fucking hypocrisy. Everybody just need to shut the fuck up and do their own shit.
It's a part of a culture that's been established for so many years. It's not just some new shit people are throwing around just to, like, I guess, stir the pot.
Yeah, because if you question it when it was first coming out, they would burn you at the stake and flay you and hang you and do all that shit.
As they should.
Yeah, but that's my point. Like, you have, and look, I'm not trying to be,
and obviously that's not going on now.
I'm not trying. It's not.
There was a lot of shit going on back then.
But look, I'm not trying. Look, I'm saying this because people
were castrated left and right. You know, there was rape among the streets. There was rampant disease everywhere back in these times where, you know, you would get hung by a stake. Like those were barbaric times, just in a general sense. So it's really not surprising that people had ties with barbaric action and religion. People were just fucked up.
And I get that. But the point that I'm making is that when you talk about that, and I'm not trying to look, this is just what it is. This is where the religion was dominated at the time. This is what it is. You had white men that were controlling this religion at the time to suit the agenda of white men at the time, because that's who was in charge at the time. And it's like
people that were white men, not all white men.
That's what I'm not. Look, that's
you have to clarify that nowadays. I feel like people don't do that enough. We throw these blanket terms around, and like, I know what you mean, and I know what you mean, but like other people don't. When you use these broad terms like white men are in power, white America, this and that, like, the few white men, the 0.0001% of this country that actually run shit, have no ties to the average white man. So when we say the white men that were doing this and that, like, you really have to specify, because they're not sitting at the same fucking table.
I already specified this is like hundreds of years ago.
Sure.
Coming out of the Middle Ages, and even
it's still, I think, the same
or medieval times. I'm sorry, the medieval times. But the point that I'm making is you have these men, these white men that are setting up these agendas within the church and shit, and that continued within the New World, and that ideology, even in a sense, kind of continued in America, where you had the elite class in America who were also white men that constructed shit at the time, which is even funnier because America talks about itself being this, where our founding principles are Christian. Most of your founding fathers believed in occultist shit. That's the funny part. Like George Washington, he believed in ancient aliens and shit. He literally does.
Maybe one of those ancient aliens that he believed in was actually an illegal alien named Jesus, aka Jesus Christ. So guess what? It all comes back to religion. It all comes back to Christianity. And I don't think George Washington was a bad guy. He was a nice lady.
Yeah, fuck that nigga. But
he has nice teeth.
The point that I'm making is, like, you had these dominant structures that were never allowed to be up for scrutiny because of the people in charge had all the power to not allow that scrutiny. Whereas now you can critique the, gender norms. You can critique all that shit if you want to. Have at it, Hoss. Go ahead and critique norms. It. Like the gender shit. What you was just talking about, like the gender LGBTQ.
It depends where you're at.
It doesn't.
My job right now, if I go in and question gender norms, I'm out of a job. I'm going. Especially me being a white guy. That's why I'm about to join the LGBTQ board and tell them I'm fucking gay. I'm sucking dick, something. So I can fucking ask some questions.
I feel you.
But it depends on the space. If you're in fucking Texas and like a conservative white town, then yeah. I'm sure you can like, stretch the boundaries in conversation about the gender norms. But if you're on a college campus, if you're at fucking University of Delaware, and you're openly asking people about gender norm, and you're a white guy, they're gonna fucking shun you out of that motherfucker. Like, so I guess it depends where you're at, but
this is, but again, This is the ideology. Even if I grant, well, not even if I grant you that, like I will more than likely grant you that. Like I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not going to agree or disagree with you. But the point I'm making is, even if you're 100% everything you just said, you're right now, right? This is the same structures that was set up with the opposing side. So for the opposing side now, because their belief system is being challenged by people saying there's more than one gender. There's, you got gay people now. Even and different things. The status quo is changing now, and you have people, and this is the beauty of what Dave Chappelle did with his stand up, with his not just the last one but all of them, because he always brought up the point. He was like, it seems funny that the LGBTQ plus movement matters when it's white people that want to be part of that community. That's the point Dave Chappelle is driving home when he's critiquing the LGBTQ.
He basically
movement.
Said that
when rich white men
y'all
want to
be a minority until like you call the cops on somebody.
No, not even that. The original thing he was bringing up was that the movement starts to matter when rich white men are gay, when rich white men are trans, when rich white men are whatever, queer, whatever the fuck it is. That's when the movement.
Exactly. Whoa, can't say that,
exactly, bro. Exactly. Well, I just said that shit. But that's what they
dropped it. Never mind.
That's what Dave Chappelle was saying. That's the whole point of what Dave Chappelle was saying, and that's what people are missing with his, with his stand up. But I didn't bring it up to go into that. The overall point that I'm trying to make is that now, because like this is a product of the own making of people with the same ideology as you. When it comes to economics, they agree with you. Like the people at Netflix have no disagreement with a conservative when it comes to economics. They agree with them niggas on everything when it comes to economics and how the country is structured.
And that's why they didn't take down the Dave Chappelle special.
Exactly. No, I'm talking about the people that walked out of the Netflix special that did the protest and shit, the trans people.
No, those people clearly disagree with the fundamentals of like free speech, capitalism, and
no. What I'm saying is, when it comes to economics, they agree with conservatives 100% on economics.
The people that walked out of Netflix,
yes, agree with them 100% on. I promise you, bro. I promise you. This is, and I guess we're going to get kind of political here. This is the ideology.
Turn back now.
This is the ideology that the Democratic Party is preaching to the people now. They're preaching identity politics to the people because they don't represent working class people anymore who don't give a fuck about that shit at all. They represent the managerial business class, all the desk jockeys that work at Netflix, all of the fucking people that work in the corporate world and whatever fucking bank or whatever company. They agree with these niggas on the economic principles and policies. They don't agree. I mean, they don't disagree. That's why I keep trying to tell people there's no difference.
So it's more of a social disagreement versus
it's literally
disagreement.
Like the only difference between a Democrat and a fucking Republican is that Democrats like kind of like gay people. That's the only difference. Because people forget Obama used to be against gay marriage. People forget that.
I feel like we kind of have to start changing our speech too, and no pun intended, when it comes to like saying conservatives hate gay people. Because like what conservatives are we talking about? Are we talking about like the 2% of conservatives that are like super duper Christian that are in the South that fucking basically run like a fucking a church that was like, it looks like it was built 200 years ago? Like, are we talking about that? Or are we talking about like the Joe Rogans? Are we even talking about analysts on Fox News?
Joe Rogan's not conservative. Not conservative. Joe Rogan has openly said himself he's liberal. It's hard to navigate what he is now because everybody tries to paint him as something he's not. Yeah, I just listen to what he fucking says.
But even like the pundits on Fox News, people that are voices in the conservative world, so to say, like I don't think their first I don't think they hate gay people. I don't think that's what they're like.
I wasn't being. It was more of a joke than anything. I wasn't being
sure.
Serious.
But I mean,
the point that I was making was there's no difference between Ronald Reagan. There's no difference between George Bush. There's no difference between Barack Obama. There's no difference between Bill Clinton. There's no difference between Donald Trump. There's no difference between Joe Biden. There's no difference.
The difference between Donald Trump and all those people is all those people hate his fucking guts.
They don't really though.
Come on,
they
bro.
agree with everything policy wise with him. They just don't like his crassness.
That's the only. How he socially disrupted the idea of all. He basically put out the idea that everybody you named besides himself, obviously, is a fucking criminal.
Yeah,
and guess what? Crook, and it worked.
And you know what the beauty about Donald Trump is? He funneled all that energy back into the same establishments that he's talking about.
Sure, I mean that's the
beauty of Trump. That's the beauty.
It's a bait and switch. I mean, it's what they all do. I mean, look at Obama's fucking running campaign in 2008 was hope and change. And this is going to be different. We're going to do this. We're going to do that.
But I feel like it was his skin color that gave him that advantage.
Sure,
it was him being
people
black.
put the fucking blinders down.
Like Hillary and Biden were saying the same fucking shit.
Somehow that same effect happened with Biden in 2020. Somehow the Obama mystique, like we got our guy in office. Let's put our blinders on.
I think a lot of Trump people were sleeping on how much a lot of people, even conservatives, did not fucking like Trump, bro.
Well, I can see that. I thought you were going to say they were sleeping on how many people liked Biden, because I don't know anybody that really likes Biden.
No, nobody really likes Biden, bro.
Nah. Hey, yo, it's funny. One of my buddies, he's like a vote blue no matter who type of guy. He's like mid-30s, early 30s black guy. He's a principal for elementary school in Philly. And me and him always go back and forth just about politics. He's generally on the left. I'm generally on the right. You know, he even just the mention of me saying Biden's fucking trash. We just go on like a whole tit for tat, like rant for an hour and a half with each other. And recently he says something like, I think I fucked up. And you know why? It's because this motherfucker commutes to Philly every day.
Yeah.
Fucking gas is twice the price it was before. And that's honestly like,
well, I'll say
that shows that people don't give a fuck about the social issues.
They don't.
People care about the economy, economics, how much money they're paying for shit. And once you start fucking with people's pockets, just like this dude I'm talking about, a vote blue no matter who, he was all on the Biden train, fuck Trump. This motherfucker, out of everybody's like, I think I fucked up.
Well, I'll say this.
He's paying double for gas.
No, I'll say this. This is what I'll say to that. He's a fucking idiot for saying that. Anybody that is blaming Joe Biden, and I don't care how people react to this, anybody that's blaming Joe Biden for the current gas prices now, and this isn't a Trump versus Biden thing. This is just an overall thing. Systemic thing. You're a fucking moron. You're an idiot. Because of all of the moves Donald Trump was making in the Middle East, pulling troops out of Syria, pulling troops out of Afghanistan, which I'm for.
Wait, you're mad at him for pulling the troops out?
I'm with him doing that. Okay. But what I'm saying is
building our own pipeline, who put a halt to that when he got in office.
Yeah, but guess what? That's what happens when those pipelines start killing people.
That's
when
different. Now we're having
but that's the effect.
Having a different conversation.
But that's the effect of pipelines. That's the effect of pipelines.
We're talking about the effect. No, we're not talking about the effect the fucking pipelines have on the surrounding areas, in which I agree that some of that shit's fucked up. I mean, that shit shouldn't be bleeding out into people's water supplies. But at the end of the day, that pipeline, if it was still being run, there might have been some.
And even if the pipeline is still being run, it's all about the laws that are in place anyway. When Donald Trump, when Donald Trump,
talk about economics, we're not talking about
but I'm saying when Donald Trump authorized the line to be done, the original law, it was more for export, going to other countries. It was still going to other fucking countries.
See, I gotta see that.
But that's what I'm saying. Most people don't read the shit. They just see, he stopped the pipeline. And nigga, you gotta read the fucking finer print. That all was for export any fucking way. But that's my overall point. Most people don't read between the lines. What I'm saying is look, I'm more left leaning more in towards socialism and communism and shit. You obviously are not leaning towards that. But what I'm saying is the main thing you cannot discount, whether you agree with communism, capitalism, is whatever the egalitarianism, whatever the fuck you believe, there is a fucking fundamental problem and flaw within the system that has always been there. Always fucking been there. And what
is that flaw to you?
To me, the flaw is not enough checks on capitalism. So I say this to you all the time. I'm not 100% against capitalism. I'm not saying, especially in a country where it's been predominantly capitalist, you're not going to get a bunch of niggas that's been exposed to capitalism forever in a room and just switch to communism, which I don't think we should anyway, because communism has its downsides, not even just with the normal shit people believe about communism, but even within the economic structure.
What about these countries that aren't at all, or they're not self-proclaimed capitalists, they're a communist society like China that has even worse signs of what we say capitalism, the detriment of capitalism here going on in those countries that claim they're communists. And I say that not to keep on the tit for tat argument on communism versus capitalism.
Well, I would say
I say that because I think the end problem, I asked you, what do you think the problem is? You said capitalist. The end problem is human greed.
Well, no, I didn't say capitalism.
When hierarchies get out of place, and the power structure, the balance between the average person and the few ruling class gets out of hand and unchecked, which happens all the time. It's happened throughout history, and it's a constant pattern of rebellion, new leadership. Eventually, over time, that leadership goes sour, and then new rebellion. It's just a cycle, and I think the blame for it. What?
You're off center a little bit.
Okay, I think I probably moved it a little bit.
You're good. You're good. Right there. Right there.
I think the blame for it isn't necessarily communism, isn't necessarily capitalism, even though there are some attributes within these systems that could be held to blame. What's up? What's up?
No, I'm about to grab another one.
I think the end problem is human greed and just the natural traits of humanity, the natural composition of humanity. There's always been a ruling class, which are the few, and there's always been the masses, which are the most. And that's just how we work. We work in hierarchies. We have a couple people at the top and a bunch of people at the bottom. That's a flaw within humanity. That's not a flaw within the systems that we claim aren't to blame, even though, like I said, there's certain variables within those systems that could be to blame, But I don't know. We weren't even supposed to talk about politics. I was supposed to sit here, drink my fucking juice, and bash Travis Scott, and now we're talking about communism. Oh, I cannot. I don't know why you tried to fucking. That shit is fucking. I don't know how people smoke them fucking jewels.
But
That shit's trash.
the point that I'm making is that, like,
Fuck capitalism. Look,
the fundamental problems that I'm talking about is that when for example, like the European. And I don't like pointing to the Scandinavian models all the time because they have their flaws. A lot of their economy is based off of imperialism as well. Mm-hmm. But the point that I'm making is they have checks on capitalism within their system. They have a robust, what we call welfare here in this country, but social programs like, free healthcare, free college. They don't have a minimum wage there. You know why they don't have
checks on capitalism having policies that kind of just give back and help people? I don't know if that's checks on capitalism. But that's the checks
on capitalism, which capitalism isn't. It doesn't inherently fund greed. It doesn't inherently fund or fuel it, is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. But it definitely incentivizes it a lot more. Let's be real. That's if we're being honest about it. Whereas that's why I'm saying. So the countries you were talking about, like China and shit like that, they have what is called a hybrid system. This is why I implore.
We have a hybrid system too.
Yeah, we do. But what I'm saying is the hybrid system leans more towards the greed aspect than the actual robust social programs. When you have these defundings of the social programs, where on paper it looks like a lot of money is going to these social programs, but it's actually just going to private contractors that are stealing the money from the people anyway.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends what you're
talking
about.
You know who's a big proponent of
because my girl works for.
But hold up, and you know who's a big proponent of privatizing, of continuing the privatization of these social programs? Joe fucking Biden. His whole career has been trying to privatize Social Security, throw it into the stock market. That's been his whole thing. He literally teamed up with George Bush when he was president to try and privatize Social Security.
They changed, when it comes out of my check, it's not called Social Security anymore. It's called FICA. Or something like that. And it's it's basically like my money that I put towards Social Security doesn't all directly go back to me. It's collected as a conglomerate and then given out evenly to people. And I don't fuck with that shit either. Fuck that. Give me my fucking money that I fucking made and give it back to me when I get older. Or just don't take shit at all. Stay the fuck out of my fucking pockets. Why are you holding my fucking money and telling me what to do with it, holding on to me, blah, 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 and then giving it back to me later? Fuck you.
Well, if you want to go with that,
If you
want to go with that ideology, that's why I raise up things like worker cooperatives, the ownership of the means of production and things like that. So where when you have worker cooperatives, is on paper when it comes to treatment of employees and workers and things like that, is far better than.
What does it have to do with the government taking taxes and Social Security out of my check?
So what I'm saying is, if you agree with that, if you want basically what you're advocating for is less taxes,
less government, less taxes.
No tax. Yeah, if you're advocating for less taxes, I feel like you should have robust communal gatherings within the privatized organization that's controlled by the workers instead of by a fucking oligarch who controls everything.
Sure.
So, but
Sure,
basically, my point is, it's if you want less government, I feel like we need to have a check on that so that Jeff Bezos doesn't have even more free
if you
reign.
want
when
less
lessen the
government, we need more community. I agree, 110%. I think that's a fundamental thing with people. I guess banding together with. I mean, look at the unions. Look like the worker strikes, like the big workers. What do you call it? See, I'm a fucking idiot. I don't even know this
Unions.
shit. Shit you talk about all the time. Like when workers banded together at a certain point, created unions. Yeah. And push for workers' rights to get like their fair share. Like I'm all for that. What has to happen for that to happen, especially right now, is that sense of community, that sense of like unity, which obviously that shit is. As Americans, I really do feel like we're more divided now than we ever were. And part of that's the media to blame. Part of that's obviously the government, but part of that could be, certain intelligence agencies fucking around with shit.
Well, that's what the intelligence communities always did. Like all through the 50s, 60s, and 70s when the CIA was invented, that's all they did was break up workers' movements. That's all fucking Hoover did. That's all the CIA did, the Dulles brothers. Like, and especially, this is what I try to explain to people about imperialism and things like that. During the 50s, 60s, and 70s, the reason why they were going into these Middle Eastern countries, the reason why they were going into Latin America was because these Latin American countries were coming up with a different way to structure their economy. A lot of these countries weren't even going full communist. They were just adopting some communist principles to put a check on the capitalists and taking the big capitalists in their countries out of power. But all through that time period, you saw them going down there overthrowing countries in South America, overthrowing country. That's literally, people talk about Iran all the time. Iran was a country that was democratizing. It was actually lessening the control of religion, specifically Islam within the country under their leader Mossadegh. And basically what he wanted to do was he wanted to kick the British corporations and American oil corporations out of his country and nationalize the profits for the oil. Well, we can't do that, so they staged a coup and overthrew him and installed a brutal dictator named the Shah of Iran. And then eventually they had a revolution led by extremist groups who didn't fuck with the Shah, like literally the Ayatollah, which is the supreme leadership position in Iran now. His parents were tortured by the Shah that was installed by America. So you literally radicalize this guy by doing this to him, and that's why we have the Iran we have now. But even talking about Iran now, Iran's not it's not what people make Iran out to be. So I'll just say that. But
what are you saying?
So
Iran? Talking about Iran?
Iran.
I don't want to hear it like that, bro.
So basically, this
is America. We're going to say it like an American.
You can say I'm saying it how I say it. You can say how you say it.
I'm about to run out of here if you mention Iran one more time.
Iran. Just like it's Iraq, Iran, Syria.
Man, this is like typical conversation with Caleb is 1 second we're talking about Travis Scott telling ourselves we're not going to talk politics. And the next second we're talking about Iran.
On that note, I'm going to take a shot. But
I'm probably about to have to cut this a little bit.
But basically the whole point I'm saying is like
a little hour.
Yeah, people shouldn't be afraid of different people shouldn't be afraid.
Boy, that fucking crown. Yeah.
Speaking of which.
Oh, no. What are you doing, man? Oh, no. You're not going to take that as a shot. You won't.
I won't.
You won't. You fucking pussy.
This is the first liquor I've had since I had my wisdom teeth removed.
There you go.
Should I do full screen?
Show them. Nah, hold on. Show them the size of that shot. That's like a fifth in a fucking shot. Yeah, that's not a shot. You won't do it. You won't throw it back.
This is the first liquor. I haven't had liquor since I had this, except for beer.
Well, then you need that. Take it down. Oof, boy.
Anyway, but yeah, so I guess we'll go ahead. Rap skis it up there.
Is there one more thing you want to talk about? Anything else? Maybe not political.
I
guess we only had the fight, and then we wanted to talk about Astroworld.
Let's do quick. You know what? Since we didn't do it yet, how'd you feel? This will be like 10, 15 minutes if you got that time. You got that time?
Yeah.
How you felt? So Donda versus CLB. Come on, bro.
Oh,
we got to. We got to. Especially now. Hold up. Did you see the Kanye interview, bro?
Yo. All right. So let's talk about. All right. Yeah. There's one segment in that Kanye interview I really want to talk about.
What was that?
It was the segment where Kanye was literally basically saying, like, what I got out of it was he was saying the hip hop community should have basically band together and put Drake on check for saying the shit he said about Kanye's wife to Kanye. And it's like, yo, it's interesting. Like he was talking about the lyrics, like, oh, left down the block,
Kiki, do you love me?
Right?
Are you riding?
And he's saying he's saying all this shit. Like he was basically saying, like, Drake, like, you know, you're telling me, right? I guess they had a conversation, something like that. Like you're telling me, like, you didn't fuck my wife, but you're acting as if you did. You're saying you're like you're throwing those shots as if you did. And I think Drake is living in Kanye's head rent free like a motherfucker, bro.
Yeah, when Drake leaked that Life of the Party joint, the 3 Stacks joint, literally all in the YouTube comments, they said the Drake's credit is the best song he dropped all year. Bro, they was coming, but
my whole thing is like, yo, Kanye, don't come out and say, oh, the hip hop community rapper, like, oh, your boys should have fucking like put him in check. He said something about Jay-Z. Apparently, Jay-Z didn't know nothing was going on. He was out the loop. Like, I don't believe that either. But, hip-hop is grimy.
It is.
Hip-hop is seedy.
But, like,
hip-hop is gutter. Hip-hop is street. All that shit. Like,
but Drake,
but
Kanye.
He just fucked you up and to a T, to a point where it fucking broke your brain. And now you're being a whiny baby. Like, you're being a baby about it. Like, yo, ain't nobody going to come save you. Like, you kind of asked for this a little bit, too. Probably not. Like this is hip hop. That's like fucking, you know.
Kendrick said it best. This is hip hop, so you niggas should know what time it is. Nigga, we can't. Hip hop beef came from the era Drake or Jay and Nas talking about fucking each other's girls and wives. The whole beef between Big and Pac was Pac basically alluding like, oh, I've been chilling with Faith, this, that, and that. That's hip hop has always been that. Kanye's just been
grimy. People have died over this shit. Yeah. Like not just words. Like people have died.
Kanye's just. I feel like he's being sensitive about that. I feel like it's kind of ridiculous for you to say that, and for him to be the hip hop historian. I know that Kanye is. He knows that what he's saying is bullshit. Stop being a little sensitive ass bitch. You married a little promiscuous. You married a whore.
Married a whore.
You knew what it was. That's what I would say about that.
He was okay with that too.
Yeah, but that's the mentality he was. That's why I found it kind of weird. I feel like I think that's part of why they broke up was because he was talking about, oh, I want you to cover up more, this, that, and the third. Like,
I think Drake cracked Kanye's brain, and that caused some fucking real problems within him and K's relationship, Kanye and Kim's relationship.
I think it's more sort of religious shit, bro.
I always thought they were going to break up, but I think that with Drake in the mix, I think he might have knocked off a couple years on Kim and Kanye's relationship.
I'm gonna be real with you, bro. I genuinely believe Kim Kardashian loved Kanye West based upon everything that was going down with that. If you really looked at their relationship, like I feel like they really did care about each other.
I don't know if those people can love anybody.
Now I'm just saying that's just me looking from the outside in, seeing the action she would fought. Like she was there with him through the maggot shit. He was going fucking wild, defending him.
No, guess what?
Defending him.
They kind of worked. They kind of made sense in a way when you seen her working with Trump to like free people from jail and shit like that. I mean, I think like, maybe her link with that was not.
Well, I think that idea came from him.
Maybe,
but she was the person that could articulate. Like people, that's why I think Kanye has Asperger's. I literally think he has Asperger's.
He definitely does
because he can't
a little bit more than that.
He can't articulate words like you saw him even before he started drinking during the podcast. It's very hard for him to articulate his thoughts.
I mean, he could I feel like there was a day. I feel like before he reached that Kim K level of fame.
You're about to be weak, bro.
What?
Keep talking. Just keep talking. I'm about to show you this picture. Keep talking.
Yeah, I feel like before he reached that like Kim K level of fame, like he was good at articulating himself, at least like on stage when he's saying like, "Oh, George Bush, whatever, don't care about black people."
But that's a little short nugget.
I mean, sure. I mean, we never like really had like an in-depth view on Kanye and how he articulates. That motherfucker got some type of burgers. He look like he been eating some ass burgers, looking like a fucking Humpty Dumpty out here.
But yeah, the overall Kanye shit, like I do think a lot of the shit Kanye talks about even shit outside of the whole Drake shit and everything. I think a lot of the ideas Kanye brings up, like he was working on, my problem with Kanye is that you can't work with, like, you can't sit here and talk about anti-corporations and come up with ideas like affordable housing and affordable clothing and try to team up with these greedy ass corporations that's never going to allow that.
I think that's all a front.
It might be. But what I'm saying is the idea, I feel like he puts those ideas out there. Like there has been people that have gone out and done this. Oh, I heard Kanye talking about it, this, then the third. So I start X, Y, and Z. Like he is an influencer in that way, and I miss that Kanye where he's talking about actual real shit. I don't care about you not being allowed in fashion.
I think that he has some real shit. He has prophetic shit that he says, and that comes from like this like on the spectrum, like probably a little bit schizophrenic, like borderline Asperger type of brain. Like he said, he has a certain mind frame that a lot of people would probably gravitate to and see as similar. But I don't know. I think that I don't know. Kanye, he's just in another planet. He's definitely delusional, like to a T. Like if he was just like a regular Joe Schmo out here, just like living a regular life, he'd probably just be some fucking kid tweaked out in his grandma's basement, like fucking around on an NPC. Like he's just lucky he's Kanye West.
But he's Kanye. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
You ever seen those stories? You ever seen the Jamie Foxx story when he talked about first meeting Kanye?
Yeah.
I think that's the littest story ever. Like,
because he didn't think he was going to be famous at all.
I feel like that story. No, that's when he was on his way. He was producer for Jay at that point. Mm-hmm. I think that's the best epitome of who Kanye is as a person. When he was like, "Yeah, I'm sitting here like, all right, I'm gonna sing. He said, "No, don't sing it like that." Like, so the whole time he being nervous, sitting here like, "Yeah, man, I want to work with you." But when it comes to that music shit, that's where the confidence kicks in. Yeah, don't sing it like that, bro. Like, what are you doing? Like, you feel me? He's almost like
Yeah,
like,
and it's like.
I
don't know.
When I hear people talk about him in that music mode too, it definitely reminds me of like a Tarantino. It reminds me of a Scorsese. How people talk about when they work with these people, they're very meticulous with what they do, and I see that outside of the music. I see that when I hear people talk about him working in architecture, for example. That's one of the things I love when he talks. I don't
want to hear nothing about Kanye West working in fucking architecture.
I love when
that motherfucker needs to architect some new fucking Yeezy slides because them things look fucking horrendous.
But people are worried with Kanye. That's why I never really like been into his fashion shit. One, because it's expensive as shit, and a lot of his shit looks ugly, in my opinion. It looks fucking dumb.
It literally looks like he went down Skid Row in fucking L.A. and was like, you know what? I got an idea. Yeah. And that's all his clothes are based on is homelessness.
Yeah.
And mental illness.
Like I would if I want to rock the homeless look, I'll just like copy J. Cole and like in like a fucking thrift shop or some shit like that.
J. Cole definitely does look like somebody's fucking uncle that never made it.
Yeah, J. Cole does the homeless look better than Kanye, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I mean, how good would the homeless look on J. Cole look if he wasn't J. Cole? He'd just be somebody's scruffy, dusty uncle.
Sure, that's true.
I mean, this motherfucker literally don't even own a car.
True.
He rides bikes through. I think he was living in New York City at one point, recently.
He literally was talking about. He said his landlord literally let him live there rent free for a while because he believed in him that much. Like his landlord said that out of his own mouth. Like
that was like pre J. Cole's breakout. Like
that was before he got popping. Yeah, way before. So that's like legit. He said I would be listening to his beats. I would hear him making them and shit at night. And one day he just played a lot. He said, "All right, I'm gonna help you out right now. I'm gonna cut the rent because he said he believed in him that much." So that's one of the things where it's like,
hey, look, a motherfucker really believes in you. If a landlord in New York where the rent is fucking $8,000 a fucking month cuts your rent for you to make your rap career, that motherfucker really must have believed in him.
By the way, I still believe J. Cole had a better album than Kanye and Drake, personally. I still think All Season was better than Down.
J. Cole. I don't. Man, I love J. Cole's music and I liked All Season, but I don't know. I don't think he's seen as like top 3 or top 4 or top 5 anymore. I don't think he's seen as that. I think most of the people that really fuck with J. Cole's music are J. Cole purists. Like he'll never be in a conversation with a Ye and Drake anymore. Like we will never debate whose album was better. And maybe I'm only saying that because this time around Drake and Kanye had that little beef and that little spat, and then that's where the comparison came in. But I don't know.
Yeah. But I guess we'll go ahead and close it out here.
Yes, we will.
Go ahead and let you get it out, man. Thanks for coming through, pulling up. And as always, it's been the 42 podcast,
fuck
man.
You and everything you stand for.
I love Kanye West. Have a good night, people.
Mama hella bad, yeah, hella bad, yeah. Shorty got me in my bag, yeah, in my bag, yeah. But this music is my passion, it's my passion, yeah. Bitch, I just want the bag right now. I ain't tripping off a bitch right now. Only worry about that cash right now, but you can come to the crib right now, yeah, pipe down.
I just want the cash right now. Ay, I I just want the bag right now. I just want your mom right now. I just want your mom right now. Yeah. Tell my young niggas focus. We will never be hopeless. We finna blow like explosives. I know it.